Welcome back to Film Vloggers. We review films and flog dead horses, so you don't have to. Is this week's film choice a complete waste of your viewing time? Much like flogging / beating a dead horses, get it? Please head over to www.filmvloggers.com to check out all of our previous vloggings. And while you're there, maybe hang out for a while, look around and vote for our next film. Click on vote, or visit www.filmvloggers.com/vote. Are you an idiot? If so, please check out our Idiot's Guide to Reviewing Us, where even a big dummy like you can leave us a red-hot review. Here at Film Vloggers, we pride ourselves on offering 1-star content with 5-star effort. Once on the website, please click on Idiot's Guide, or visit us at www.filmvloggers.com/review-us. That should have been Idiot's Guide. My fault, I didn't change the URL. Annoying. Once again, filmvloggers.com/review-us. Believe it or not, we now have a Patreon. I know what you're thinking. You have the audacity to ask us to pay to receive more of this. Pause for dramatic effect. Yes. We have a Patreon exclusive show called Nitpickers. I think you'll like it. Please visit www.filmvloggers.com/support-us. Again, that hyphen is annoying, should have removed it. Or head straight to our Patreon page. Patreon.com/filmwafflers. No idea why I did film wafflers. Another mistake. Where you can support us for as little as £1 British or $1.50. And while you're on the website, punch that big purple subscribe button and tell a friend about the vlog. Wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, mistress, your nan, granddad, your kids. They can tell their friends. They can tell their friends at school about the vlog. But in all seriousness, this really helps the podcast grow and enables us to enrich or ruin the lives of the hundreds of millions of earlobes we haven't reached yet. It's Vlogmas!
You scumbag, you maggot, you cheap lousy cunt. Happy Vlogmas to your arsehole. Thank God it's our last.
Before we kick off the bat chat, Dan, I must ask, what's with the influx of all these videos you're doing on Twitter? Are you attempting to go viral here? Is this your way of telling me that you don't want to do Sopranos Redefined anymore?
Fuck, man. Again, not to be as cliche as you can get being Canadian, but yeah, we love our hockey. It's our religion up here, and I don't know. You guys have your football clubs. You guys are passionate about the footy at all back home?
Well, yeah, no, I'm reasonably into it. Yeah, probably not as much as I used to be, but I still follow it. Yeah, still follow the soccer.
Yeah, so I mean, your home team, it has ups and downs, right? Sometimes you're going to be in contention, other times you're going to have to rebuild. Problem is, our rebuild's been going on for almost a decade now, and this was supposed to be the year where all the pieces came together and we were going to have a contender, and it has gone into it's a dumpster fire. It is so bad, and people are screaming for heads to roll. So it was just my way to sort of express my frustration over the last.
What's he been doing? Has he been recording himself just having to?
He's just been showing off on Twitter like he normally does. He's putting his jerseys on. He's recording all sorts of stuff, trying to get himself famous.
Well, no, because I mean, I'm not trying to be ranty ravey guy. That's just not my way. Because you get so many people on those platforms. They're trying to get attention. They're trying to do something outlandish to get clicks. I was just like, hey man, this is really painful, and it's been painful for the 30 some odd years that I've been a fan. And can we just do better? Just please do better. That's basically it. So, and it's gotten some traction, which is kind of weird. Oh, yeah. But it's. I think I'm going to ease up now. I think I've overdone it a bit.
When you say traction, what's been happening with it? What have you got?
I think the first two videos. I mean, traction as far as like somebody like myself, right? I mean, I think the first video had something like 5,000 views and a bunch of reaction. I had another one that had about 6,000, and they're all just kind of starting to go up. And it's a small niche community, right? Like,
is this Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
right. I see. I'm absolutely hopeless at this, Dan. I like Ben does all the social media stuff. I mean, I'm just completely. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Instagram.
You're doing it right, Tom. You're doing it right.
I know. Well, but the thing is, I feel like. I mean, from what Ben says, you have to have the social media involvement, otherwise this stuff goes absolutely nowhere. But I mean, I tried at the beginning. Well, I sort of tried, but I mean, I just can't. I can't do it. It's important. Like there's just a mental block I've got with social media.
It's fun.
Hopeless.
It's fun. It's good stuff.
I think that's fantastic, man.
Like my chat's shit on social media. I don't know how to express myself on a social media platform.
It's a weird.
Like I'd write stuff that just sounds.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I remember when it all first started to blow up with Facebook and Instagram. I had all of that shit, and then after a while, I was like, "Why am I doing this?" I just don't have the passion for it. The only thing I have is Twitter, and it's mostly just to do things like promoting, these little indie podcasts that we're doing. But you know what? Through it, I mean, fuck, if I didn't have Twitter, I wouldn't have met Ben. And some other great people like Lindsay from this other podcast that we guest on every once in a while, and that's kind of fun, man. And here we are. You guys are wasting your Saturday evening talking to some bloke across the globe.
Well, no, yeah. Well, yeah, no, it is. No, it's true, actually. Yeah, there's quite a lot to come out of it, certainly.
Yeah. Get yourself on there. What are you waiting
How
for?
do you guys generally kick one of these things up? Because I mean, I'm no sort of Batman expert, so I'm just going to weigh in as and when. But I'm not going to be leading the charge on this one.
It's film vloggers, isn't it?
Right.
There's no.
Let's get into it. It's your show, Mr. Davis. Let's do this.
Oh, is it, so it's ours. It's your episode.
It's going on film vloggers.
Okay,
yes.
right, fine.
Yes, of course.
Right, okay.
Yes. Yeah, we don't get a lot of episodes from Dan's show anymore.
Okay, right, no.
I'm not allowed to have guests. My co-host gets cranky.
No. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Tom.
Yeah.
Batman Returns, eh?
Batman Returns.
Well, okay. So everyone, the fans, the listeners, we've got myself. We've got Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Yes, hello.
The usual two.
Yes.
And we've got Mr. Dan Machholz, who you've probably heard a few times by now. He's been making quite a few appearances on the floggers over the last few months.
Would you say like I'm a featured player now? Would I be part of the floggers family at this point?
Well,
or am I still just guest?
Well, Ben talks about you quite a lot, to be fair. So
I know it's great. It's great.
So I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting there. Yeah. I feel I need to appear on You Got to See This first. Once I get my guest spot on that, then I may be more open to using that sort of terminology.
Mm.
I think you're going to have to clear that with the Spanish one. If she gives the A-OK, right, then we might be able to do something there. But so far, she's very protective of that.
Yes. Yes. Well, until the Spanish one relents, and we're not talking about any old guests. We're talking about myself. So until that day, unfortunately, Dan, you will have to be just known as a guest. Just another guest in the long line of fabulous guests that we've had.
I'll accept it.
But it's always good to see you. And I know this film, like myself, I think it means quite a lot to you.
Batman the character. I love the character. And, obviously, when I was growing up, these were the films I had to watch. And it's interesting, when I sat down and watched it again, you sort of look at it through different eyes, and you don't see it with the same sort of, vision that you had back as a child. And it's interesting, again, it's nice to meet you, Tom. This is the first time we've actually interacted since Ben and I crossed paths. I have a question to ask. I don't know if Ben was just telling stories, but was it true that for one Christmas you received a copy of Requiem for the Dream and then went off to go watch it? Like that's your jam. Those are the kind of movies that you gravitate towards, is it not?
Yeah, it is. It's a I don't know what it is. It's like a perversion that exists that I've got a kind of I think more so. I guess maybe it's just a result of having like a reasonably happy childhood that I felt I had to compensate by watching some of the most bleak films possible. But yeah, Requiem for a Dream did arrive in a Christmas parcel.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I was watching that over Christmas. But it was kind of when I was young enough to feel, Requiem for a Dream, even for an adult, gives you that sense of dread. But whenever you're young, whenever you're sort of 15, it's, it really does a number on you. I remember watching it and feeling quite ill, and I was going back to it, during Christmas dinner, and whenever there'd be like a break between courses, I'd go, right, okay, what's the next bit? And you
can only take it in little increments.
Yeah, you take it in increments. Yeah, you just top yourself up with the misery. But yeah,
you have like a 15-minute stint. You go down, you tell the family about it. You go, you never guess what.
You go, yeah, I've just upset myself by watching that.
They've got the double-ended dildo.
Yeah, they've got the dildo. And after Turkey, I'm going to have to see what happens with that. Yeah, that's not made up, actually. Like, it sounds like a bullshit sort of bit of, social lubrication just to talk about, but but no, that's true. Yeah.
I thought he was just trying to illustrate, who you are. I didn't realize it was. Yeah.
No, it is. No, the Requiem for a Dream business. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. And also, that was the same Christmas I got the Rules of Attraction as well. Have you seen that?
I do not believe I have seen that. Okay, no.
That's a Bret Easton Ellis it's a Bret Easton Ellis story. The American Psycho guy.
Yes.
In the college campus. That's another slightly disorientating, grimy film.
Oh, bleak. Yeah,
it's utterly bleak.
Yeah. The first 10, 15 minutes, it's like
it's sort of feverish. Like, it's got, in the same way Requiem for a Dream is nightmarish, that it's got an element of that as well. So that came as well. So I was going between the two of them. And then the following year we had Schindler's List, which was good.
Yeah. That's a wonderful movie that I've only ever been able to sit through once, because it was much like Requiem for a Dream. It was like, what incredible filmmaking. I think you should experience it. But as you said, you sort of gravitate towards the dark for, certain reasons, trying to, compensate for having a very peaceful existence. I almost go the other way. I don't enjoy very dark, realistic movies, because it's like war movies. I'm not a big war movie guy, because that's too close to reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I tend to like to gravitate towards the escapism, the whole fantasy, and be entertained and taken to a different existence, if you will. And that's one of the reasons why I identify with these fantastical characters like Batman.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing about, what do you want from your films? I mean, I think whenever I was younger, it's only more recently I've become a lot more tolerant. And I know that makes me sound like I wasn't intolerant towards people who kind of saw films differently to me, but I think people who like sort of escapism films, I sort of think, well, it's completely naff. I mean, we'll do the Star Wars eventually, and I'm sure, we'll have it out. But for me, I've always thought, it's so far removed from anything that you can pin back to reality. Like, what's the value in it? That was my opinion before, but I have suffered massively, and I realise, what I see in films, I almost want to see things in films through characters that I can identify with and go, okay, well, Understood. I've seen something like that, and seeing that being played out in a film, it's almost like a therapy. You see it and you go, well, that's an identifiable thing that's being picked up, and that's nice, and it's validating to see it being explored. But then some people just see it as a therapy of escape, don't they? I guess your Star Wars, your Batman, in some
you leave reality, don't you?
Yeah.
And I feel that's what a lot of people are looking for when they watch films. As Dan said, he doesn't get a lot from war films. Some people don't get a great deal from really realistic, gritty films. They like just to sit down, switch off somewhat, and enter a different universe, enter a different world. Similar to when you play video games, you get something from immersing yourself in that world, but that just doesn't do anything for you because you can't identify with any of the characters. You can't look at Han Solo and go, oh yeah, but potentially, I could be doing some of that, yeah.
I just feel it's a bit of a waste of... It feels like a waste of time to me, but I know it's not. That's just for me.
No, but that's your experience, right? And I think that's the problem, I think, especially when, we were touching on earlier before you started recording with you're not a big social media guy, which I think is fantastic, because so much ugliness exists in those platforms where people just want to dump their opinions. And if your opinion doesn't line up with someone else's, you just, well, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
well,
there's no space for that. No.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like you said, it's what you connect with. And it's funny, talking about, the fantasy and the certain type of films that I've always sort of decided to spend my time watching. I'm finding at this age, I'm 45 years old, right? And I'm starting to get to the point where even the films that I've found comfort in, I enjoy going, I'm having trouble connecting to them. I've been to 4 films, I think, since the theaters opened up around here. And I've walked away going, yeah, I don't know if these are connecting with me anymore. I just saw the new Ghostbusters movie. And again, when I go into to watch a movie, there are some people that sit there and they've got their arms folded going, okay, show me something. And it better hit this note, and this note. that's not generally how I watch movies. I just like sit down, entertain me. I try to go in without expectations, because if you have certain expectations and they don't meet it by doing, oh, I wanted to see this thing or that thing, then you're going to be disappointed. Having said that, I saw Ghostbusters, I saw the Shang-Chi movie, I saw the Black Widow movie, and I walked out of each and every one of them going, those were quality made films that I don't think I will ever sit through again. It's just, yeah, it's just interesting, right? And like you said too, like, or I don't know if you mentioned this, but you will evolve as you get older on things that you maybe find appealing when you're 16, not so much when you're 26, and so on and so forth. But anyone who clicked onto this episode is probably sitting there going, when are they going to fucking talk about Batman?
Oh yeah.
Batman,
well, that was a pretty good intro. Nice.
Yeah, that was nice.
I'll look forward to listening back to that. But we should have probably saved that for the Star Wars episode.
Yeah,
we could rehash that again. But
that's a nice caveat to go before my criticism of Star Wars. It basically says don't be offended by what I'm about to say.
Yes.
But anyway, we'll get to that at some point.
I wanted to go to you, Dan, just because of the time of when this film came out. So it was 92.
Yes.
As you alluded to there, you're slightly older than me and Tom.
Very, very, very old.
Yes, very old.
Yes.
So were you seeing this in theaters? Were you?
Absolutely. In 92, I believe I was 16. And I remember, like, you got to understand the time too. You look at superhero movies that came out, I think the biggest one before Batman was the 78 or 79, I can't remember what year it came out, Christopher Reeve's Superman. And that was huge. That was the most successful movie based on a comic book superhero, because they weren't treated with any sort of respect. And then from the Superman movies, they had a steady decline of quality before they just got almost unwatchable. And Batman, up until that point, had been in everyone's in pop culture, the Adam West 1966, tight blue and gray spandex. He was a silly character. And for myself, I enjoyed reading the comic books. I wasn't a huge comic book reader, but of the characters that I like, Batman was one of them. I just gobbled that shit up. To see him represented the way he was in the comic books on the big screen, like he was in 1989, it's like, yes, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see them taking a piss out of the character, making him a joke. And then with this one, Batman Returns, I don't think it was as successful as the 1989 one. I think it made, I've written down here, 266 million versus 411 million. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I remember being excited. I remember sitting in the theater and yes, this is what I want to see. And for me, it delivered at that time.
Yeah. Well, see, Batman Returns is when Burton got his so-called blank check. Batman was very successful. As you said, the numbers were huge. So they were like, Tim, we want you back. What do you want to do? Do whatever you want. And I think in many ways, you touched upon the Adam West stuff. I think Tim Burton, he was, because the films, I think Tim Burton's Batman films for me are very good. But he was the right person to do these sort of films, to take it away from the campiness, but retain a little bit of it. Well, no, a lot of it. There's still a lot of campiness going on. But to add that gothic darkness to it, which for me, that's Batman. I've not really got a great sense of what Batman's doing in the comics. I know it changes over the years and he's doing all sorts of stuff. But
well, the character's been around for the better part of a century, right? Yeah. And it's going to change and evolve. But at its core, he's a dark, brooding character, and he's not, this beacon of hope that, say, Superman is. He's a much more gritty character.
Is Gotham City meant to be a sort of Sin City? It's like in all the adaptations I've seen, it's always it's like a Sin City. It's it's dystopian. It's almost hellish. It's almost like a sort of Taxi Driver-esque hellhole, full of corruption. You've got Christopher Walken in this, obviously, like you say, full of camp. But ultimately, this guy is chucking out pollution. Pollution is everywhere in the film. It's you've got the antagonist, old Danny DeVito. He's leaking this like sewagey fluid from his mouth. Like the city just feels dark, cold. Everyone's wet and damp. Is that the whole thing with Gotham? I mean, is Gotham City meant to be basically a hellhole?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
and that goes back to when his parents are murdered by one of the citizens they're trying to help. Oh, that's the whole thing with that, and yeah, I think that's a reasonable way of putting it.
The stories that I always gravitated to the most, and we see kind of a little bit of it with this one with the character of Max Schreck, played by come on, what can you say about Christopher Walken? Anytime that guy walks in on scene, you're like mesmerized by his performance. Even if he's hamming it up, he's just got this charisma, right?
Oh, and his hair as well.
But a lot of the stories that I say and I connect to were the ones where, and we haven't seen a lot of this depicted on screen, is Batman as the detective, Batman fighting the corruption of the city, taking down the mob, which in certain storylines is just running Gotham. And those are the stories I connected to the most. Yeah, they drop in the characters like the Joker and Catwoman, all that kind of stuff. But the ones that are the kind of more crime noir, those are the stories I really enjoyed. And I think it was hard to do this back in the late 80s, early 90s. But with this Batman Returns, you could see like little seeds of it being planted.
Yeah, well, it's difficult, isn't it now? Because now you've had the Christopher Nolan Batmans. In many ways, you can go back and look at these. And even if you are a fan, and I'm not all in on the Nolan films, I appreciate them as a really well-made trilogy, like no doubt. And I know The Dark Knight for many is one of the best superhero films, if not the best, and also one of the best action films of all time. I'm accepting that.
Well, I'm not accepting the action film side of things. Yeah, I know what you.
Yeah,
people say it.
The consensus,
say it,
a lot
agree.
of yeah. So it's not just one of the best superhero films. It's that as well.
It's for a lot of people.
It's next
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
So you go back and you watch this, and when you see Batman moving around, it's a complete cheese fest. It is a cheese fest. And I said earlier that Burton's Batman takes away the cheese. What I meant by that was it's not a complete cheese fest like the Adam West Batmans. It retains a good amount of cheesiness, but then adds that darkness to the character. Adding that gothic darkness to the character makes sense because that's Tim Burton all over. But that does actually fall in line with the character of Batman. If you then compare that to Nolan's trilogy, it's very, well, I'm reluctant to say realistic, but it's a lot more grittier. There is a lot more realism to it. And the fantastical elements are largely, which we see in these Batmans from Burton, are largely taken away. And depending on how you look at your Batman and how you want your Batman served up to you, is a good or a bad thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, you watch those fight scenes, you know Michael Keaton can't fucking move. Whenever he puts on the suit, he has to more pose than actually fight, right? Because
Well, I think he actually couldn't move, though, could he? I think that's the thing. He actually couldn't move. I know in the original, in 1998 Batman, 1989 Batman, I don't think he could actually move.
The suit was just too much.
He could just do a bit of that.
Well, yeah, the big shoulder turns, right? That's how he was to give reactions. But
So it wasn't just because Michael Keaton just can't fight; he literally couldn't move.
But was that to actually manipulate his body so that he would have to do the big shoulder moves, or was it just a limitation?
No, it was a limitation from the suit.
Prop department dropped
the suit.
ball.
Yeah. I don't know if they improved that a little bit in Batman Returns. Maybe.
Well, you take a look at, for me, again, like you're talking to a guy who just loves Batman. And when I look at the way they did the suit in this one, it's pretty much my favorite look of the character. They seem to make improvements on the way the cowl fits him. Because if you look at the original Batman, it's just this big, silicone blob that's on his face, right? And it just doesn't look great. And he spends a lot of time in the shadows. Where this one, he's much more out there. He's much more lighted, if you will. But again, with these movies, you talked about the Christopher Nolan ones. That's when, I don't know if this is the right term, that's when they started to take these films seriously, as much as they could with this kind of character. When you watch these ones, you have to suspend your disbelief. This is not reality. These characters are essentially comic book characters.
I mean, for me, because whenever it started, I sort of got, it's very Tim Burton, the whole intro. You commented where it's, they have this child and there's this like slightly gothic comic thing where the child's, what's he do? He takes one of a pet or something.
Oh, the cat. Yeah.
He gnaws on the cat, and then the parents, wheel him out in the cold of night and dump him over this bridge. And I thought, very Tim Burton-esque, very sort of iconic scenery. And then I thought, the whole. There's going to be this thing where there's going to be this penguin character, and there's going to be an underlying, as is in the case of a lot of Tim Burton stories, there's an underlying tragedy to the antagonist. There's something that's always you're gonna be torn between sympathising with him and also detesting him. And there was so much material to make this Penguin character that tragic. You know, he's rejected by his family, lives in the sewers. You know, his only family are these penguins and these ghouls that kind of hang around him. But my problem with this was that I think it almost became his character became almost too campy, that any sympathy I might have had or any I found him hard to, he just wasn't humanised. You know, he could have been humanised too much, which I don't think would have worked, but he wasn't humanised enough for me to think, oh, there is a genuine tragedy with this. And that's what I think would have elevated this, if there was a genuine sense of tragedy, which I feel there wasn't.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And well, I mean, again, too, this is just going back to the time, right? Like, I think you take a look at the Batman movie that's going to be coming out next year. They're probably going to spend much more time and effort giving some grounding to the antagonist's plight. Why is this guy making these choices, right? Because people want to see that now. Back in 1992, people just wanted to see garish, over-the-top villains, right? And it's funny, I was thinking about it, watching this again through the eyes of 2021. I don't think Batman would have been needed if this came out, if this character existed in 2021, because he would have been canceled for how overtly sexual he is and all the harassment and shit. He's a deplorable character for a children's film. Like, he's groping breasts, he's got all these sexual innuendos, he's trying to get Catwoman in bed, and you're just like, wow, this would kind of be hard to explain to, an 8-year-old who just wants to see, Batman punch some baddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's where it falls down, though, doesn't it? Penguin, the first thing he does when he comes up from the sewers and he's dark is that he goes straight to the library and starts writing down all the kids he wants to kill.
Yeah, child murder is a plot line in this movie.
Yeah. And this is, as you said, this is a kids' film. I know when this first came out that a lot of people had an issue with it because it's like, well, this is too heavy for kids.
It was too dark. That was one of the reasons why he didn't go on to direct a third one. They decided we've got to make this much more colorful, and that's literally what you got when Schumacher took over with Batman Forever. And again, I remember watching that when it came out and loving it. Now I don't know if I could sit through it. I think that the Schumacher stuff, and you guys did Batman and Robin together,
me
didn't
and
you?
Fiona watched that junk, yeah.
No, who did you?
No, me and Fiona
Yeah,
watched,
I was spared that.
No, you did it with Fiona. Okay, you did it with Fiona.
Yeah, you'd have enjoyed that.
That's unfortunate. But those ones are unwatchable for me now.
Right.
I find that I can still enjoy aspects of the 89 Batman and Batman Returns. And when I was watching it, you know what it made me think of, Ben? It made me think of when we were talking with Lindsay about Freddy versus Jason and how, as a whole, that movie is a mess. Save a couple set pieces. Save a couple scenes where you get to have this character presented in a way that you want to see on film. Like, I love the introduction. Let me try that again. I love the introduction of Bruce Wayne when you got the circus gang taking down Gotham, which, again, doesn't Gotham feel small? Like, it's just a couple blocks.
Yeah,
It's
a set.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only thing with it. Is there's a big Christmas tree and there's just a set.
There's a podium for Christopher Walken to talk to the people.
Yeah. Well, don't forget the zoo, of course. I know it's abandoned now. That's where that's Penguin HQ. But
there's a department store. There's a department store as well. But that scene of where they light the bat signal and then you can see all the different little contraptions that they have set up at Wayne Manor, and you just see Bruce sitting there just waiting, like just waiting to go. But as a fan of the character, that was very true to the character, because the whole, I'm sure you guys have heard this before, Bruce Wayne is the mask. Batman is the character. He puts on Bruce Wayne to kind of get through the day. But at the end of the day, he's just waiting for things to go wrong so he can become who he really is. And I love that scene of him just sitting there in a dark room waiting to get out there. And other shots. Like, you have to admit, this film looks pretty. Like, it's not hard to look at.
Oh, well, it's Burton, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much, even Burton's films now. Well, maybe not Dumbo, but most of his films are are nice to look at.
Oh,
That's what he's retained throughout his career. You know, I've seen Batman 89 hundreds of times, but I don't know if there was that much brooding. I feel Batman was on the go quite a lot in that. He was always moving around, and I know there was the story because it was the Joker. There was more of the family and seeing that. So I do like seeing. That's probably why Michael Keaton is for many seen as the best Batman, because I think he can do everything.
I think he's one of the best combos. As much as I would say the Nolan trilogy is the depiction of the character I enjoy the most, I think Michael Keaton perfectly plays off the two characters, especially in this film. I really like his Bruce Wayne in this, but I also like his Batman's not too over the top. I mean, how many times have you heard people make fun of Christian Bale's Batman voice? I like the way Keaton plays it. It's sort of lowered a little bit, and he's not spending a ton of time speaking in a Batman voice, which sort of I think is helpful.
He's slightly dorky, I found in this one. That was a couple of times when he's talking to Selena. When he first meets Selena, he's quite dorky. But again, I think that's kind of part of the character, isn't it? He's a little bit, because he's this like billionaire who just sits in his mansion all day.
He's just got absolutely no chat.
It's like his social interactions are just
horrendous.
And when it comes to women as well, he's like,
he just sits in his high chair, just waiting for old.
Well, sits in his library, waiting for those reflectors to go.
Waiting for old. Alfred to come and just serve his
Alfred,
dinner.
sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically a sort of glorified child.
I've got to say, I was saying this when we were watching it, but to be fair to Christopher Nolan's films, Pat Hingle, so Commissioner Gordon, and I think Alfred. I forgot what the guy's called now. Michael
Go or Gove?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah,
Michael Gove.
Yeah. I think I've got to say, I think they are improved somewhat in Nolan's films. I think Gary Oldman and Michael Caine are nothing against them. Again, they fit in with the tone of the film and at that time, so it makes sense. And I know this is going back because I know this is Commissioner Gordon, Pat Hingle's. This is years after, and Gary Oldman's. He's starting off. He's not Commissioner Gordon yet. But I think their interpretations of the two are a bit more interesting. And I guess that just goes in with the tone of the film.
Well, as those first series go along, I think Gordon's reduced to somebody that and he even does it in this film. He's like, what are you waiting for? Flip the single. It's like, do you want to put a little bit more effort in there, Jim?
Yeah, he's pretty useless. He's by Batman and Robin, he's unwatchable. He's not doing good stuff in that. To be fair to Batman Forever, I feel like I could watch that. I feel like I could still watch Batman Forever.
Is that Jim Carrey? Sorry,
yeah,
the third one.
Yeah.
Which I was a huge fan of Jim Carrey at the time. I thought he was fantastic. The guy that sinks that film is Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh yeah,
It's just like, what's happening here? What are you doing?
I'm surprised Tommy Lee Jones is in stuff like that, because I thought he'd take that whole. He seems like a bloke who would take a dim view of source material that wasn't underpinned by
like one, money talks.
Yeah, money talks.
Two, it's Batman, and probably at the time he's like, Jim Carrey,
and he's a showman.
He's a showman. Yeah, Jim Carrey, that could be fun.
Apparently, he didn't get on with Jim Carrey. Apparently, he found Jim Carrey absolutely untenable.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
Yeah, there's an interview out there where Carrey, talks about meeting him in a restaurant.
It's with Norm Macdonald, and he's and that's it. And he goes up and he goes like, I can't. What does he say? I can't remember the word.
I can't suffer your antics or something.
I can't sanction. I don't sanction you or something. It's just not sanction. I can't remember what it is, but it's.
But it's like that. It's like that. Just dismissive.
And he's like, apparently he was so angered when Carey went up to him in this restaurant that he was actually shaking, and he was like,
you can see it in the film. I think there's a lot of times when Jim Carrey's just blowing out. And obviously, Jim Carrey's doing stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
So they've got a script. And
that's his thing,
He's prancing around, and Tommy Lee Jones is just like... There's a few sort of head tilts where he's just looking at him going, where are we with this? Jim, what are we doing?
Jim,
stop bouncing around.
Get back on the fucking page.
Keep your feet on the floor for 10 seconds.
What I wouldn't give to see the outtakes from that.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they yell cut and just seeing Tommy in that just ridiculous makeup going,
fuck,
I'm going back.
I can't work with this fucking
just
clown.
Fuck this.
Ripping that makeup off and just storming off.
I need to watch it, actually, because you're right. It's all because I heard that interview. It was quite interesting, and I never watched it. It's that film, isn't it?
I think
Batman
if you can get on...
No, Batman Forever.
I think Batman Forever would be... It's worse. Way worse.
Okay.
But you see with Batman Forever, it's walking that line of like, we're still kind of Tim Burton-ish, but we're leaning towards Batman and Robin.
Well, and also, yeah, talking of Robin, what's his name? Chris O'Donnell, or
Yeah, Chris O'Donnell.
yeah, that guy. I'm not whatever, but
Who's that?
Robin is just when Robin starts showing up, and then you get the family and you get all that stuff and the tightrope. It's like I'm just not interested. That really brings the tone of the film down as well. I'm not invested in Robin at all.
Who is Robin? Is he just a sort of rent boy equivalent of Batman?
Well, he becomes his sidekick. He becomes part of the team. But
Yeah,
you know,
who is he?
Well, he's
He's just like a
he's
ginger
part
kid.
of these what they called the guys who walk on the wires in
Tightrope. Oh, he's a circus freak.
Well, he's not free, but he's in the.
No,
yeah, he's in
I mean
the circus,
it depends on it depends on the stories, right? It depends on
Right,
the
it
stories.
changes. Yes,
Oh, I see.
sorry, right.
Right, I see.
Please correct us, Dan.
I never really connected to the character that much, but there was a handful where they, you know, in the hands of good writers, you can make something work. And there was one storyline where, you know, his family, they were circus performers, they were acrobats, and
Acrobat.
there you go, right? Yeah.
Acrobat / circus freak.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what the problem is.
But no, what happens is his family is it's killed by some gangsters, and he becomes an orphan. And Alfred sort of, to get Bruce out of just being this person who, like we said in this movie, just sits around waiting to get called, is to give him more purpose and perhaps guide this person who's going to be filled with so much hate and revenge, much like Bruce is. Take him and sort of allow him to walk a different path. And the way the story is written and the parallels of Alfred's scene where he failed with Bruce after the death of his parents is trying to help make amends for the mistakes he made and try to give Bruce more of a purpose. And the way it was written, I was like, this is actually pretty good. This actually makes the character look kind of cool. But anyways.
There is a lot of value to these comic books, and I said to you, Dan, I'm quite keen to get an animated Batman film on the go because, you know, I'm a Batman fan. I've always been a Batman fan. You know, I've got the Batman pajamas on right now, but I haven't delved into any of the comic stuff. I haven't delved into pretty much any of the animated films. I've only seen the mainstream Batmans, and I feel for someone who calls himself a Batman fan, that's not too good.
Well, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I could do better, I feel. So I'm quite keen to delve into some animated stuff.
I'll leave you guys to do those ones.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, we'll do Batman Forever.
All right,
We'll get that on the go.
yeah,
We'll
for
do
sure.
that.
Yeah.
I love when I start going off, I look at Tom's eyes and they start to glaze over a little
No,
bit.
no, that not
His
at
head
all.
just hits the mic.
No, it's just the lighting in
Sorry,
here.
where were we?
Yeah.
Batman Forever? No, it's Batman Returns.
No, because actually, when you were talking about the whole, you know, where Robin fits in with the universe, what you're talking about is the way these comic books are used to explore, you know, difficult subjects. That's what you're talking about. You're talking
Very
about
true.
a bloke who's going, oh, my regrets. How am I going to sort of make good on this stuff where I've gone wrong? I've got no problem with using a medium that's fantastical. You know, it's a Tim Burton sheen on it, but fundamentally, it's exploring stuff that people couldn't palate otherwise.
That's the irony, isn't it? In some ways, that in many ways, watching these films, you'd actually probably get a bit from looking at the comic books and just actually reading a bit on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
What is this guy's backstory?
Yeah, what's the theme here?
Because in the film, they've got 20 minutes to go. Right, here's Dick Grayson.
Yeah,
this is
agreed.
what he's doing. Here's the family. Like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah, maybe it's my limitation, actually, in my artistic vision that I just, you know, it's got to just be stripped down. I've got to see someone getting sort of domestically abused in real life. If it's explored through a comic book, it's just not working for me. Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah.
Maybe I've just got something wrong with me.
I mean, to your point there, Tom, like for me, yes, I love the fantastical elements of these movies, but I'm not going, like, you take a look at like Batman and Robin, there's no substance there. They had some cool action scenes. They had some great sets and good-looking costumes, but there's nothing. The characters were paper. They were hollow. I think about my favorite moments in comic book movies. Like, I'll point to one of the Spider-Man movies that came out a couple of years back, and a tie-in here. Michael Keaton played the villain. Now, there's a scene where Michael Keaton is not in his costume, and he's got Spider-Man sitting in his car. We find out, spoilers, that Michael Keaton is the father of Peter Parker, Spider-Man's love interest, right? They're going to the prom, and as they're going to the prom, the two of them are talking back and forth, and then they realize who each other is. Now, in that moment, they pull over. Michael Keaton says to his daughter, "It's like, just give us a second. I got to have the dad talk." And there's this haunting exchange between these two characters where Michael Keaton is as threatening as anyone could possibly be. And that's the kind of stuff I connect with. You find those moments in those movies, it gives it weight to when they're doing crazy stuff, shooting spider webs and hanging on the back of planes. Because for me, if you don't have that, the movies are shit. Like, I take a look at Black Widow. When they get to the final act and everything's, I know you guys hate CGI. I appreciate it in proper usage. But when it just becomes a big explosion CGI fest and it's like one thing after another thing after another thing, my brain shuts off. I'm just there's no value in this to me. I want to see those. I want to see those human moments in these fantastical characters.
I mean, CGI use it to enhance by all means, but don't give me 100% CGI.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with CGI. Yeah, I'm not going to get into CGI again. But yeah.
Like, you take a look at Batman. You take a look at The Dark Knight. As far as CGI, they did so much practical in that film. Like, I mean, they actually flipped a semi-truck, right? And the only CGI they used was to like paint out the big piston that they used to shoot it down and flip it over. That's that stuff is fantastic.
Well, that's what again, without going too much of a tangent about CGI, but I understand budgets and everything else, but a lot of these films that have all these CGI scenes, a chock-a-block full of CGI, it's like, well, hang on a minute. Well, this film has done something similar, and that was all practical. And if anything, you've actually got a bigger budget. So what the fuck are we doing? Well, could we not have considered doing that practically? I'm still confused by it.
Well, I don't
get it. I can't get my head around it.
I don't think we're necessarily fully correct on the budgeting side of things. I think this CGI garbage, I think it's bloody expensive.
Oh, no, it is, yeah.
I don't even think... I mean, if you were to weigh up cost of doing... I mean, there'll be different things. But, the way up the cost of something practical in CGI, I suspect
exactly.
It's more expensive to CGI.
What are we doing?
I think it's something to do with these production companies. I think it helps them pitch for other films if they can say, well, we've done this. I think there's something. Yeah, there's other forces at work than what's going to look best on screen. There's. I don't know whether they get I don't know.
Oh, anyway, yeah,
grants,
yeah. We should do a podcast about exploring CGI. I'd be keen to do that.
It's interesting because my co-host on my other show, she is a visual effects artist. She works on these movies. She works on the Marvel movies, the DC movies. And you take a look at the amount of people that it takes to create these things. The money is astronomical. And I think, again, I don't know. I all I've done has been like a casual observer to see the work that's done, and it's almost perhaps a laziness on the filmmaker's part. They're like, don't worry about it. Let's just get this shot in a green screen, and then we don't have to worry about setups or making sure the lighting's fine. They'll do that on the computer. And I'm not knocking.
Yeah, see, that's what I said recently about the whole laziness of it. And
right.
But the whole CG, yeah.
Well, yeah. I think shelve that. I think that is a discussion.
Well, actually, I was going to say, well, how do you think the effects in Batman Returns hold up? There's a couple of wobbly ones, but it's almost 30 years ago, so I'm not sitting there nitpick. I'm not sitting there going, that looks shit. I think the only one that was really jarring was when Catwoman goes off on the umbrella. I'm not quite sure what happened with that. I don't know if it was your TV, but she changed colour in the sky.
Oh, really?
I didn't notice that. I didn't. Yeah,
what's happened here? I don't know if the contrast was up a bit.
It could have been a TV problem,
right?
But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I thought the visuals here were no problem at all for me.
Yeah, no.
You can tell that they're working in a large studio, right? We commented on how small it feels. The practical effects. I mean, I don't even think CGI was a thing at this point, right? 1992, Jurassic Park came out in 93, so that was the real boom of it. So they had to do things practically, and like I said, I think visually this film is still enjoyable to watch. But Tom, I got to ask you, this might be hard. Do you have any favorite moments in the film? Like moments where you're like, I really like that.
No, I think, for me, Probably just because I wasn't, had absolutely no expectations. I think the opening's good. I think it very much sets the stall out for the tone of the rest of the film. When you see the parents, wheeling the child's pram up this kind of dreamlike, snowy woodland scene.
It's great, isn't it? The opening's great. It's good.
It is. It's absolutely. It's beautiful to look at, and it's almost a fairy tale setting.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opener. I like how they've orchestrated this sort of penguin march through the city. I think that's always quite.
Well, and anytime you see a penguin on screen, it's quite fun.
Yeah,
you see those practical penguins. It's like, oh yeah, that looks a little bit fake, but it looks good.
Speaking of fairy tales, Tim Burton directed one of my all-time favorite movies. Did you ever see Sleepy Hollow?
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Christopher Walken again, yeah. Phenomenal.
So good. And it's a fun thing too with Tim Burton. He tends to work with the same actors, right? You see a lot of people that have been in previous movies pop up in other ones. And I mean, I don't know how much time we spent talking about Batman Returns. It was more of a deconstruction of the character and these kind of films.
Apparently in the original script, which I think sounds infinitely more interesting, is that Max Schreck, Christopher Walken, his character, him and Penguin were brothers.
I remember, yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. And what Penguin did instead, he came up and tried to kill all the second-born children in retaliation. I think that makes a hell of a lot more sense. I don't know. Again, it's like CGI. You try and get into the ins and outs of why people cut scripts to pieces and they do rewrites. No idea. But that makes perfect sense, and I'm really confused as to why they would have cut that idea.
It does, because I think the link between Penguin and Christopher Walken in this, I just don't think it. I just kind of forgot what the link was. It's massively forced.
Yeah.
The dynamic with Catwoman and I mean, for me, the Catwoman Batman sort of free song thing. Is that the right word? The relationships between the characters didn't really have a lot of gravitas for me, and also. All of this business about how, you couldn't have this because, Penguin's killing children, he's making a register of children he wants to kill. For me, there was no threat. The Penguin character really brought about no sense of threat for me.
Well, it was hard, wasn't it? Watching Danny DeVito waddling around with his umbrellas, it's like, is this guy really going to be the guy who takes down Gotham?
Yeah.
Is this guy going to really, with his clowns?
With his spinning umbrella,
and his fake penguins, is this guy going to really be the downfall of Batman? Yeah. I'm not too sure. It's fun watching him, but I'm not sure.
And again, that's the problem with these films, trying to look at it with modern day filmmaking and how seriously they take these movies now. Back then, and even to this day, rewatching it, I thought Danny DeVito's character, whether he was threatening or not, he's sort of he is comical in some ways, but yet I thought his look is fantastic. I mean, you want to talk about practical. That makeup. Is amazing. Danny DeVito's almost unrecognizable. I actually prefer the villains in this than I did to Jack Nicholson's Joker. I was never a big fan of Jack Nicholson's Joker just because I thought he I don't know.
Really?
I always thought, because again, being someone who read the comic books, my image of the Joker was a young, slim sort of I don't know. He wasn't a fat, old, balding man. Like that's just the way I looked at Nicholson, and I hated the prosthetics. I hated these big chunks that were stuck on him to give him that grin. I'm like, couldn't you have done something a little bit different? I don't know. I never loved it, even though I can appreciate how iconic the character was and how much that hit at the time.
Yeah, obviously resonated, didn't it?
100%. And he was great. And like I'm not trying to hot take. I think Nicholson sucked. No, I just didn't love it. But I think with this film, speaking of kids, I don't know why, but the guy who played Chip, Andrew Baranowski.
Oh, the son.
He does this. I don't know. A lot of people say it was terrible. I loved his Christopher Walken impersonation as trying to play his child. I don't know. There's something about that guy, much like Walken. Every time he walked on screen, I'm like, this fucking dude.
Yeah.
Get out of here,
he's got a slight. Yeah, he's got the walk.
Save yourself. Save yourself.
Yeah, yeah. But if you've ever seen this guy interviewed, he's a piece of work. This guy does not come across like a good dude. And he went on to play Leatherface in the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. Reboot. And
I
think
mean,
he
he's
played
a brick shithouse, isn't he? He's fucking
Oh, he's
huge.
a big dude. I think he was like a bodybuilder or something like that.
Yeah. I think he was in Street Fighter. I think he's one of the guys in Street Fighter as well.
I think he was. I think he was the Russian guy in Street Fighter.
Yeah, he was.
He not?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
He's got a look. He's got a presence.
He has got the look, yeah. By
he can't
pure
act.
size.
He can't act for shit.
Yeah.
But he's a big bloke. Yeah.
Yeah, he fills the screen.
Let's go bring joy to the masses.
My closing thing would be, I get it. I absolutely get it. I think there could have been a bit more of a sense of jeopardy. I don't think at any point, even whenever this final plan is where you think it might be coming together and, old Penguin's strapped in for the show, I don't think there's ever at any point a genuine sense of any form of jeopardy.
How did you find Michelle Pfeiffer? How did you find Catwoman? Just as a character?
I liked the transformation. I liked, her going from this slightly meek, bullied secretary with the whole Walken dynamic to start with, into this, she goes into this, tear where she rips up her apartment, trashes a telephone receiver, and then but towards the end, her showing up didn't really do anything for me.
I think some of these films, and I think Nolan's films suffered from this as well. There's just even though there's only two bad guys in this, and Max Schreck, there's just too many people on screen. Batman's sidestepping between several different people, and it's just to flesh out those characters properly and to make you go, oh yeah, I'm really invested in this bad guy. Or Catwoman, oh, she's scary.
And they only kept like piling on more and more as they continued to pump these out, more and more characters. I think this one was sort of critical mass for characters, like trying to get them in, but then as they went forward, it just became about how many other people can we shove in these movies. But Tom, I'm glad you went into it with us an open mind and can see that there was merit in it.
Oh, massively! I enjoyed it. Like I enjoy the first half. I enjoyed more than the second, but the first half, because we watched half of it last night and then finished it off today. Enjoyed the first half. I'd say really did. But like you said, the last half, all these characters then come into the fold, and it all just becomes a little bit more shallow.
I think you've seen Batman '89, haven't you? Seen Jack Nicholson?
I don't think I've actually seen the full way through. I've seen all the Jack Nicholson scenes, but yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it.
I think you'd enjoy it.
No problem over here. I'm not gonna.
That's disappointing.
Kick up a stink on this.
I'm devastated. I told Dan that you were going to be like, "Oh, Batman, dog shit."
No, not on this. No,
Dan Machholz Batman. It's absolutely rubbish.
No, we'll get there. I'm sure we'll find something. But no, it's not this. It's not this. And Star Wars. I've never seen the original 3 all the way through. I'll go into it with an open mind, but
well, don't let me down. Make sure.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Make sure you're not enjoying Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're anything like the modern ones, we're gonna have a problem.
Well.
I think when you go into Star Wars, you would almost have to take a look at it as, and which is hard to do because of everything that's come since, is to sort of understand what it would have been like in 1977, right? And say what you want about the films. I think it's very clear that's not your jam, but it's hard to ignore the impact that the success of that film, carried through, and we're still seeing it to this day. I mean, the franchise is still well and alive and thriving, depending on the quality. We can argue with that, but it was a huge moment in cinema.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Is there much credit to watch these sort of films and go, I think Star Wars is absolutely dog shit? Are you going to waste that much energy watching it?
We'll see.
Well, okay, but for this, I never thought you were going to watch this and go, oh, turn it off. I can't watch any more of this. This is terrible. Because why would you waste that much energy?
You'd be missing the point. Well, if you watch this and did that, I think you'd be missing the point, because it knows what it is. It's not sitting there with a straight face. Tim Burton's not producing this, going like, "Sorry, you're not getting this."
Yeah,
you're not getting
the
Penguins. Yeah. They're going to blow up the city hall.
This is like the most. This is probably the most Burton-y film.
It's just insane. It's a big tongue-in-cheek cheese fest.
Burton's gone all in on this.
Yeah.
Can you expose Tom to Batman and Robin and just see how long he lasts till the eyes start rolling.
I don't.
I don't think he'd make it past the scene where they're breaking in on the museum. Like, just make him watch up to that point, and then report back.
Maybe get into the old spaceship with Freeze. Fuck. The thing is, you may try and give it a bit of time because it's got Arnie.
Because it's Arnie, yeah.
But, honestly, potentially Arnie's worst performance.
Oh, it's horrendous.
It's terrible.
But would you say it falls into that so bad it's good? Like, it's so bad. He can't make it 3 sentences without a nice pun.
Yeah, no, I think it's just bad, actually. Of course, it's, again, one of those where you watch it, and I knew I was going to be talking about it, so I was like, oh, God, I've got plenty to say about this junk. If I watched it just, casually, just putting it on, and I wasn't going to talk about it, I wasted 2 hours watching it.
You wouldn't.
I'd probably be a bit upset.
Yeah.
But no, Batman Forever, I think, is the one. I think you can get something from that. You like Jim Carrey, so.
Well, I don't really feel like that's what we need, because we got a film tonight, haven't we? We're going to watch something.
What are you guys watching?
I'm not saying tonight,
Please, I mean.
What are you guys watching today?
I don't know, actually. What are we going to do?
Oh, mate, Batman Forever.
Batman Forever, yeah.
We're watching that Brazilian film, are we not? Potentially.
Brazilian. Oh, Elite Squad.
Yeah, or Tangerine, maybe.
Tangerine.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Well, yeah. Dan, do you have any final thoughts on it, or did you make your final thoughts, or?
No, I just, thanks for wasting some of your Saturday evening sitting around to record a little bit of Batman talk, but
no, it's been great. Good. It's been, sorry, Dan, just to interrupt, it's been nice, actually, because me and Ben actually haven't sat in the same room to do one of these.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even say, did we? Yeah.
This is the first on all fronts.
Yeah, this is the first podcast,
in the same room.
In the flesh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Sorry, Dan, I've totally interrupted you. What were you going to say?
What a privilege, Dan, to witness that.
No, I was saying it's honestly I think you guys do great work. I was flattered when Ben first asked me to come on and talk about, what do we talk about? Jason Takes Vancouver, I think. So
yeah. Thanks for reminding me, Dan. Yeah.
Anytime you guys want to do a 3-piece again, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe we'll do another one, as a warm up, and then we'll delve into Star Wars, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to get a bit more comfortable with each other before we get.
No, genuinely, I'm looking forward to doing Star Wars because I've not seen. Well, it's not the original, is it? Well, it was, but A New Hope. I've not seen that for a long time, actually. I'm interested to see how I feel about it.
Well, we do the 3. So it's the idea that we do 3 and then we talk about all 3, and it'll be an extended episode. Or do you think?
No, I think we should just do Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Just do Star Wars. Yeah.
The idea, really, long term, is to do all 9.
Fuck. I don't think I could sit through the prequels again.
Well, the only problem is by the time we get round to recording all 9, I feel Dan Machholz would have died of old age. So I guess we can do them in your memory, Dan. Yeah. We'll try that. But we'll start off with New Hope, and I'd kind of like to start off with Phantom Menace, to be honest. But
no, if we did that, if we introduced Tom to the Star Wars universe with the Phantom Menace, he'd be like, I'm not going to watch another one of these films.
Yeah, no.
Like
Have you seen Phantom Menace with Jar Jar Binks?
The only one I saw when I was young was the one with Darth Maul.
Yep, that's the
Phantom
one.
Menace.
Yeah, and it was horrendous.
Yes.
And what year did that come out? I can tell you.
99.
So I was 5 years old, and I came out of that film and said that was garbage.
Yeah, you came out weeping.
Yeah, I was offended.
You were screaming.
5 years old.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I'd like to watch Requiem for a Dream.
Sorry, can we get some Requiem for a Dream? I mean, that's just on the horizon, isn't it, at this point?
All right. You guys have a good evening.
Right. Yeah, good to meet you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That was good. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice work. Honestly, Tom, get back on the pod, man.
Anyhow, Ben, where can we find us? Go on, you take the lead on this.
Don't be so stupid. Stop being a child.
I've just announced to the world.
Do the one thing that you do on this podcast.
For fuck's
Get
sake.
on with it.
So you can find us on the Facebook, the Twitter, and Instagram. We're also on TikTok occasionally. We are on all of the regular sites for downloading podcasts, such as Good Pods,
Why do you butcher this?
Spotify.
You've done it a million times.
The Apple thing. What's the Apple thing called?
Yes, where you find your podcast.
Yeah, where you find your podcast.
Yes.
There you go. That's where you find us. Oh, and sometimes we do the game floggers, but we don't do it very often.
We're going to be doing it.
We're
going to be doing it over Christmas. I'm going to get another monitor.
No, he is not.
And we're
over my dead body.
That's going to be so much easier because then we can have one monitor to interact with all the fans. And the
He
other
currently
one
has 3. Well, he's got 2 and then his laptop. So
be easier. So much better. Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
So. Anyhow, thank you and goodbye. Don't forget to like, share and review. Happy Vlogmas.
Hello and welcome to What's Our Seat Number. If you're listening to this trailer, you're deciding whether or not you're going to listen to this podcast.
Good.
But chances are we've lost you already.
Wait, what? No, come on now. What?
Well, I mean, it takes what, like 10 seconds for people
You're
to lose
being
interest in things?
defeatist.
I am
You're
not
being
being
defeatist.
defeatist. They've
You
gone
are.
already. It's for now.
Then, well, now they are because we started arguing, so we've both sort of driven them out.
Well, go on then. Tell the dead air who we are.
Okay, the dead air,
The dead air.
the cadaver.
The people who aren't listening anymore.
I'm taking control. You introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing, right? It's going to sound more professional that way. Go.
Okay. I'm Johnny Gross. I'm a filmmaker and a film fan and fanatic and obsessive.
Good. Very good. That was very well done. Very professional. You sounded like you're in control and almost like you know who you are.
All right then, and who are you?
I'm Sai. I'm a 3D artist and a game designer, a film fan. I'm your brother as well.
Really?
We're going to be talking about some of our favourite movies and hopefully some of yours as well. There's going to be trivia behind the scenes.
Do you want to tell the listeners why we've called this podcast What's Our Seat Number?
You really came to the right person with fielding this question because I feel that I can take this story and really bring it to life. Okay, so one time we went to go and see a film in the cinema and I asked, what's our seat number?
Fantastic.
Was it good?
Yeah.
I did it for you.
It's great.
If you want to hear more, you can check out the rest of our episodes. We're hosted by Podbean, but you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music or Audible, TuneIn, Alexa, Listen Notes, and now on iHeartRadio, Player FM, and Podchaser. So pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Please don't forget to review, like, and rate, and keep listening, because the more you listen, the more we'll be able to produce. Bye.
Ta-ta.